Greetings, guys. Welcome to another episode of CEO Chatter Live. I'm your hostess, the award-winning editor-in-chief of Swagger Magazine, Fancy, and I'm excited to be back with you guys again. We are still continuing with our Profit and Secure Her virtual conference speakers and sponsors, and so today I have one of our sponsors with us, and she and I will be discussing financial wellness as well as some other things. So I'm excited to have her, and then at 12:30 I'll be doing another interview that is still along the lines of the Profit and Secure Her virtual conference event. So stay tuned, stay on for both of the podcasts if you can. If you can't, then don't forget that you can always catch the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting platforms. You can stream it there. So if you're tuned in, I'd love to know where you're watching from. If you can let us know in the comments, just where you're watching from. That's always good for us to know. And then also, if you're tuned in, don't forget to take a second to share the broadcast so that others can know, about the show as well. And so before I get into my guest introduction, I want to take a second and also make certain I share. That's the reason why I'm looking down right now, just to let y'all know that part. So, all right. All right. So let's get into it. Today's guest is Nishaea Richardson, who is a financial coach with 2 years of experience and a passion for helping others succeed. She likes to share that she was not always financially savvy and made a bunch of money mistakes before she started to change her financial blueprint. From maxed out credit cards, zero savings, tons of debt, negative net worth, and an unhealthy relationship, she elevated her mindset and moved past fear and became a financial powerhouse. She has worked with hundreds of clients virtually and in person through financial literacy and wellness workshops, conferences, and one-on-one coaching programs. She is also a financial coach for affordable housing partnerships of the Capital Region Home Ownership Center to prepare home buyers with money strategies to master their money and during and after the home buying process. So y'all know y'all need to be tuned into this. To best serve her clients, she uses her current certification as a Six Sigma yellow belt to streamline the money management process for her clients and completed the Financial Coaching Academy. She strives to provide the best financial money management and mindset advice to help you succeed with mastering your money and building a richer lifestyle. So today I'm going to bring in Nishaea now. Greetings.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. I'm glad to be here.
Well, that's great. So we can just get right into the questions then. I think it's interesting because I love I love to know that people have experienced something before they started teaching it. So I like the fact that you admit that you have had your own financial mistakes and mishaps. But tell us, like, what sparked your interest in finance?
For me, it was actually being introduced to a credit restoration company. And I noticed that, I wasn't the only one. At the time, I had great credit, but, I also noticed that I was not the only one who was in that situation of having that bad credit and then seeing the effects of having the negative credit. So I actually was in a business where we were offering credit restoration services. And within that, I saw how it was impacting other people's their financial struggles or their financial situation that they were in because their credit was not in a good space. And then also through that, I also saw that they didn't have the mindset that they needed to see the value in restoring their credit and also seeing how much better their life could be when if they changed the way that they were managing their money. So I actually got into finances. I kind of stumbled across it, but I also saw the connection of where I used to be and how like my life was not so great. And then once I changed the relationship I had with money, I saw how it improved my total lifestyle. So that really excited me about educating and really supporting other people through their financial journey.
Gotcha. And that makes a lot of sense. And so, I know you mentioned in the bio that you've had your money struggles, but then you kind of said that before. But what did that look like? Like, did you have any type oftentimes we talk about financial literacy now, but it wasn't something that we talked about before as much in the past, not within the Black community as much. So, like, were your parents, did they introduce you to finances, or, did you have any, um, advice that was given to you, or were you just kind of, playing it by ear and then you grew into things?
No, I didn't. We did not talk about money when I was younger, which, a lot of people can, connect to that. But no, money was not discussed when I was younger. And I had to make a lot of mistakes in like my 20s. That
Mhm.
was when I learned all my money lessons because of all of the mistakes that I made. And then from there, just learning from my mistakes, and then also learning like the real stuff afterwards, like learning about tax strategies and then implementing them, learning about different ways of investing and then implementing them. So after making my mistakes, then I actually got the real knowledge from books and then different mentors and different courses and things of that nature. So no, it was not something that we talked about when I was younger, but it was an education that I obtained when I got older. Once I realized that I needed to learn these things in order to live a better lifestyle.
Yeah. And I think we all kind of came about it that same way. So were there any negative beliefs or blockages that you personally had to overcome?
Yeah, I used to always think you had to work really hard for money because, that's what your parent tells you, right? Like, oh, you have to
Hmm.
work overtime, you got to do all these things, and really that we don't have to do that, right? That's not the way that we can make a lot of money now. So that was one of those negative beliefs. I used to also like have a negative feeling towards people with a lot of money, wealthy people, just because it was always a negative thing behind that in our communities, when really there's so many nice, generous, caring, wealthy people. And really, money just amplifies the person that you truly are. Whether you have money or not, you're going to still be a great person if you're a great person.
Yeah, I like that because most people don't really talk about it, but I do believe that is the case. If you're a great person with or without it, and then it does amplify you. So that makes a lot of sense. I like that a lot. So, um, I know that Coach Bev, who's another one of the speakers for the conference, is speaking about setting smart fitness goals, right? But it made me wonder, like, is there a better or a smarter way for our to set our financial goals? Like, could we be saying things wrong, or it might even be something that goes as far as our beliefs, but how can we better set financial goals?
I think being realistic. So it's still that smart philosophy, so that specific time frame, making sure it's realistic, right, within, within means. But really just focusing on the things that we really want to be doing. Because sometimes we set goals for things that we don't really want because someone told us that we should be saving, let's say, 6 months of emergency or savings in our financial freedom fund, when really we are really only want to go towards 3 months. So when you know what you want, then it's going to actually motivate you to complete it. So just get very clear on what's important for you, what's of value to you. And then that way, when you're setting those goals, it's going to keep you excited about accomplishing them. So, well, even if it's a matter of, you paying off a credit card, or you being able to invest maybe $1,000 a month, whatever it may be, just get very clear on it so that you're excited about it because it's something that you want to do. And that's a great way to set goals.
Got it. So, what are some tips for practicing an abundance mindset? Because I saw, that you mentioned that on your site, and I thought that that was also good to mention because I know that our mindsets, almost they influence everything. So, I know how important that is. So, what tips would you share as far as that?
Yeah, so the first thing is get around other people that are doing really well. Get around people that are accomplishing the goals that you want to accomplish, because that's going to help you see that it's possible, right? Seeing that those opportunities are there, that allows you to see like, okay, I'm able to do this. This is something that's attainable for me. That opens up that abundance mindset. I would also say read some books on mindset and money, and that was also going to help because now you have that education, right? Now you can see like, okay, these are some other things that I could be doing with my money versus the stuff that I've been taught, or versus the stuff that I've been doing and thought that
Mm-hmm.
there was no other option for me. And I would also say affirmations are great. Using those wealth and abundant affirmations, repeating them 3 times a day, and really living by them. So it's one thing to say, like, money loves me, or, whatever affirmations we say, but we also have to believe it, right? Believe that it is possible. And that's really going to change the way that we think about money, so that we can clearly see that there is so much available to us, and we don't have to live in just this small space, because there's so much available.
Yeah, I like those. And then, so finish this sentence for me. The biggest challenge I see Black women come to me with is.
Hmm. It varies, to be honest. Okay, so the biggest challenge I would say is spending. I'll say that. I'll say spending. Um, a lot of us have grown up to where we feel like every time we get money, we have to spend it, instead of looking at it in a different way, as something that we can leverage, something that we can grow, something that we can appreciate. We don't have to necessarily get rid of it. So I would say spending is something that a lot of the Black women that I work with have an issue with. But it's definitely not something that they can't change. And also, I will say that spending is not a bad thing. It's just a matter of us being intentional about the things that we are spending on, so we're able to spend and do the things that are a necessity or that are important to us.
So, and this was kind of off topic, but well, it wasn't one of my original questions, but it made me think, because my partner is always talking about, us being consumers and this generation, like just this, us as a society are consumers. So, almost like what you said, kind of makes it kind of, defends, my, I guess my thought process about the spending. Cause it just seems like to me, we have to spend more nowadays, even though I hate to use the word have to, but it still just seems like, with the cost of everything rising, and then it's just everything is kind of accessorized, like if you buy this, then you also need that to go along with it. And I know all of that can kind of, that's how we get into the subscriptions and all of those other things. But what are your thoughts on it? I mean, because like, I know I've even had my account like tell me to cut back on my expenses for the business before. And that was just so hard for me to do. It was like I just could not bring myself to let go of anything, seems like. And until later on, I learned I would have to let go of some things. But if that, I couldn't do it in that moment. How do you do that?
Mhm. So it's really finding the things that you value that are important to you. Like sometimes we get in this cycle where we're like, nope, I can't live without that. I gotta have that. I gotta have this. It's all these things, and it's like, is it really that serious? Like, do you really want the subscription for Netflix, Hulu, and, all these things? Like, are you actually watching all that stuff? And I'm just using that as an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we get into that, oh, I can't live with this, I can't live with that, and we're not even using the things. Like we feel like if we don't have all the things, we're missing out on something. We're not using it. And if you let it go, I'm sure after a couple of months you'll forget that you even had it before, because you're not using it, right? So I always
Right.
say focus on the things that you absolutely love, the things that you absolutely need, because those are the things that you're using on a regular basis. And it's okay to spend money on those things, but sometimes we go crazy and it's just really not that serious. Like I just say it because it's just not that serious. And once you go without it, it's like, oh, I don't even know. Like I didn't need that. I don't know. I'm just going to say, like, I didn't need to get my hair done 4 times a month. I could have got it done twice a month, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Right. So it's just finding that balance, and, just making those tough decisions to decide on what it is that are important to you, so that you can let go of the other stuff that just really has no value in your life.
Got it. And what I took from that too, just to let you know, was like it's the usage. Are you actually using these things? Because I will say too, with the things like I cut back on a lot of our services that we had. For one, I had to look and see if we were using like the service and it was also being offered with another service that I was paying for. So that helped in some ways. But I did kind of forget, because now I've been even thinking to myself lately, like, what were those services that we were, paying for? And I know I paid for some years, but now I can't even honestly remember what most of them were. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So you are also a coach with the Affordable Housing Partnership of the Capital Region Home Ownership Center. How did that partnership come about?
I actually was, and this, I'm glad you asked me that, because I actually was doing like free money workshops for a different organization, for a different nonprofit that offers business funding to small businesses. And I was
Mhm.
doing it like once a quarter, or, a couple of classes a quarter. And they actually saw that I was doing those workshops, and they were talking to the woman who actually asked me to come in to do them. And from there, they actually reached out to me and said, hey, we have this grant money, and we are running this program. We would like to pay you to come in and do these monthly strategy sessions because of the work that you were doing for this other nonprofit. I was approached because of the work that I was doing for another organization.
That's cool. And I kind of asked that question because just I know that it's important for us to look for other partnerships and so on in business. And so this is a, partly a business podcast. And I think that oftentimes people forget about those type of opportunities, and then also are curious to know, how do we go about those opportunities? So thank you for answering that question for us. So what advice would you
You're
give to
welcome.
those who may not be on track for home ownership but desire it?
Um, Start somewhere, right? I love the program, the Affordable Housing Partnership program here in my area. And there are usually these types of programs in a lot of cities, like most places have them. But see if you can find a local place that actually offers services or support for new homeowners, because through that, they're going to have like those first home buyer classes where you can really learn all of the basics that you're going to need to know as a that's someone who's going to be a brand new homeowner. I would also say that having those money management skills is going to be the number one, because you're going to need to be able to save for that down payment, right? Even if it's not the full down payment because you can get grants or whatever, you're going to need money to be able to do that. And the banks are going to be looking for that money in a savings account to know that you're someone that they can actually offer a mortgage to. The other thing is credit. A lot of times we don't think about credit until it's time for us to have to use it. And then it's like, oh man, now I need to improve my credit, when we could have done it a year ago, but we've been putting it off. So I would say if that's something that's on their mind, now is the time to look at your credit, make sure you're paying off debt, make sure that you're building that savings and really getting into a good financial space, so that when it's time to go through that process with the bank, you have everything in place. Also, after becoming a homeowner, you're going to need to maintain those same skills, because the roof leaks or you have a flood somewhere. Those are things that we have to pay for as homeowners. There's no more asking the landlord or the property manager to do those things. So it's really a shift in mindset. And then also the financial space is really important, that we are in a healthy relationship with our money, so that we can prepare and do these things, versus, as you mentioned before, spending it all on things that just aren't important, that's going to slow down our process, our of reaching our goal to become a homeowner.
Wow. And those are some very good tips. Um, and just you made me think about, like, because I do still rent, but I hadn't thought about that. But I remember, like, years ago when my best friend inherited a house, she was just saying, the difference in having to pay for those repairs and things like that. So I do think that that is something that you have to kind of start, mentally preparing for, because I know me, I that would totally get lost in just all the home buying excitement and not even think about, hey, what's to come. So I'm glad that you offer that service, that you teach them about that as well, not just the before part. So I noticed that you and Donna St. Louis, if I'm not mistaken, or either it was Chanel Evans, but someone from Fire Savvy, that they are that you're both, you have the Six Sigma belts. And I was just wondering, how do you
Mm-hmm.
get those?
Yes.
Because I've only, it seems like I only read about people in other places having them. I've never seen anything in Louisiana about the Six Sigma program.
I actually obtained mine through my employer. So I worked for the federal government. And at the facility that I worked at, they actually offered that training to the employees who wanted to take advantage of it. And I took advantage of it because it was free and it was a skill and certification that was available for me that I could also use in other places. So
Mhm.
that was actually how I gained access to it. But I'm sure if like you like do a web browser search on how to get certification, I'm sure there's programs out there that offer it outside of an employer. But I think for me, it was a good experience because I was actually able to do projects in the facility that I was working in, so that I could get the certification. So it was like the you had the training, but then you were also able to implement them and complete a project and to get your certification. So that was helpful because a lot of times we learn things, but we don't have an opportunity to actually implement them. So then, therefore, all of that knowledge is really not helpful because we're not actually applying it to anything.
True. That's very true. So before we wrap up, do you have any projects or events that you care to share?
I always have my one-to-one coaching available for people who are looking for a financial coach. They're looking for someone to really help them or give them a plan to manage their money better than what they're currently doing it. And a lot of times I like to point out the fact that, a lot of my clients, when they come to me, they are already in a good space, but maybe they want to learn how to do more with their money and they really want to shift, elevate their mindset to where they're not doing things to find reasons to get rid of their money, but actually keep it and grow it, right? And do more with it. So I'm always available for one-to-one coaching, and I also have a financial literacy membership. Which would be for a large group of people who are interested in learning those financial literacy skills, and also getting knowledge on the business side from financial experts that are going to talk about tax strategies, contracts, business credit, all of those things as well. So I have two different ways that people can work with me. Those are the projects that I have right now, my membership, as well as my one-to-one coaching.
Got it. Well, I like that you have the membership set up that way. It really made me think about my family and my brother, and just, we're always having these wealth conversations. And so something like that, would be good for a family to join. So, and then also because we're both business owners as well. So, just kind of thinking that way. But you guys can reach Nishaea at she's the budgetguru.com if you're interested in visiting her website, and it is scrolling along the bottom of the screen. But just to spell that out, that's SHETHEBudgetguru.com. And then you can follow her on Instagram at Nishaea _financial _coach. And Nishaea is spelled Nishaea. So thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with me today, Nishaea. And we'll see you at the conference on July 11th through 13th. So guys, you all can also get your tickets for the conference. I'll share scroll that ticker in just a second, but let me say my goodbyes. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we? I mean, I had already started closing out, but I do oftentimes ask, if there's anything that we forgot. Okay. So thank you so much for joining us,
Yeah.
and I'll see you at next month at the conference. All right, so that was really good. A lot of really good tips, and just me. I don't know. For me, learning about finances is interesting, but it's also not the most interesting thing. So at times I can like really struggle. I can listen to books, but at the same time I may not grasp everything there. So when you actually have a conversation with someone and they're sharing tips, I can obtain that knowledge. Seems like it better, like I can hold on to it better. But I hope you all enjoyed the conversation as well. And you can see more of Nishaea, like I've said, at the Profit and Secure Her virtual conference, July 11th through the 13th. We're going to be on Air Meet, and we'll have like networking at the beginning of the event. We'll also have other speakers and sponsors, but this event is sponsored by Nishaea, Fire Savvy, Keep, which is formerly known as Infusionsoft, and Shauna Jefferson. So we do hope that you all will come out and support. And the tickets are scrolling across the bottom of the screen. But if you are an audio listener, then of course the link is bit.ly, ly backspace PNS her tickets. PNSHERTICKETS. So you guys can follow the short link and be able to purchase your tickets there. And we are looking forward to seeing you all. You can also join us on our Facebook page. At 12:30, I will have another interview with Teresa. I think her last name is Noy, if I'm saying it correctly. I have to ask her about it before we come on. But you guys can we'll be discussing self-care and just like the guilt that we oftentimes feel as business owners about taking the time out to practice self-care. So I hope that you all will be returning at 12:30, and I look forward to seeing you all in a few minutes. Peace and blessings.